none of us really knew what Laguna Beach was going to turn into. I mean, if you remember MTV's, they did a show about, God, what was it called? Like
Real World? Road Rules?
Well, those shows I loved too,
Yeah.
but like True Life, that's what it was.
Yeah, okay.
True Life. So I sort of thought like, okay, it's like, living in the real OC, a True Life thing. We had no idea it was going to turn into what it turned into. And also the pilot that we shot was such a watered down version of what it ended up being, because they had to get all of the parents on board and get all of us on board. So we're like, yeah, this is sweet, sure, no problem. And so I was just sort of going along with it, but I did know that if I'm going to do it, let's have fun with it. Like, I knew to bring my A game. I knew early on, even when we filled out these packets, like the questions were, who do you think is going to be homecoming queen? And I said, I don't know, and I don't care as long as it's not Lauren Conrad. Like, I knew to bring the drama. I knew how to like spice things up and like get people talking. And so that part was just sort of innately in me, I guess. I don't know.
So when did you start to kind of make your own money when it came to being on Laguna Beach? Like, the show obviously brought in an income, but were you like, okay, I'm going to do this next and I'm going to do this next? I know you did acting. Like, could you talk about a little bit before Uncommon James?
Yeah, so we really made no money on Laguna Beach, to be honest. The first season, I think we made like $2,000.
That's bullshit. You should be getting
wild?
residuals for
Isn't that
reruns.
wild?
Nobody was paying anybody back then, right?
No, and honestly, I would have done it for free. I remember when they told us we were going to make $2,000, I was like, oh, hell yeah.
Who just told us this the other day? Somebody was
Spencer.
No, well, Spencer, yes. Well, we can get into that. But no, but there was somebody else that did it. Oh, the housewife that we just did in New York. Jill Zarin said there's no money in the beginning of Housewives.
Right.
None.
She did say
nothing. And then I think the second season we made more. I mean, I know we made more, but it still wasn't much. So I graduated high school. So I did 2 seasons of Laguna Beach. I graduated high school and I decided, all right, I got a manager at the time and an agent, and I did the whole thing. And I thought, well, I'm going to act and I'll just see what happens. I'm going to move to LA and I'm just going to, ride this wave. So the first thing I booked was a show called Get This Party Started, and I hosted it. Traveled around the country. It was on UPN back in the day. I don't think anyone remembers that network anymore, but it was fun. And it was a great introductory for me into the entertainment world. And then I consistently worked. I never did some amazing movie. I mean, I did work with some really cool people, but nothing that ever, was a huge deal.
Who was the coolest?
Well, I did a movie called Spring Breakdown, and that was Amy Poehler and Parker Posey and Will Arnett and just really, really great, cool people. So that was really fun. I did one with... let's see, the first movie I did was called Fingerprints with Lou Diamond Phillips. Do you guys remember him? And then I worked with Rumor Willis in one, and Rob Schneider, Elle King. So, I mean, it was fun. It was fun. I consistently worked. Nothing was, outrageous. And then, so I did that from 18 to, I guess, 21 or 22. And then during that whole time when The Hills was on, Adam DeVello, who was one of the producers, would always call me and say, what do I have to do to get you on an episode? We want you to film. And I always said no, because I was like, it's Lauren's show. I know you guys want me to come on and just stir things up. And I wanted to just be respectful. And I was like, I'm not going to do it. So with Lauren leaving, though, they honestly just gave me an offer I couldn't refuse. It was about the money. However, it was a very difficult decision for me, because I knew if I went back to The Hills, it's a very different career path for
How
me.
many, so in the beginning, obviously you're in high school, what stage of your life are you in when they came back, when you went, how old were you?
Well, they kept asking me for years. So, from when The Hills was on, so 18 to when I was 21. And then when I was, I guess, 22, they made me the offer. So this is in 2000. I graduated high school in 2005. So 2009-ish, I guess.
We're the exact same age. We graduated 2005.
Okay.
Yeah.
So right around in there. And so it was a tough decision for me, because I knew, okay, if I go back to The Hills, I just have to change my whole course of action here. Because at the time I was acting, I wanted to be taken seriously as an actress. I was kind of trying to stay out of the gossip, magazines and all of that, and be taken seriously. And so, but ultimately the money talked. And so I went back to The Hills, and I think maybe that was when I kind of decided, okay, I have to embrace this lifestyle, because with those shows comes the tabloid world of it all. And every week, the Us Weekly would be mirroring what's happening on the show. And you just have to jump knee deep into that whole world.
But it sounds like you never, some people, it seems, that do these shows have issue with that. It sounds like you never had, you understood the game.
I understood the game, but it definitely was difficult at times. I mean, there was a moment in my life where Us Weekly was saying I needed to go to rehab and that I wasn't showering and like all this like crazy shit. I was always showering, okay? And listen, I was partying my ass off. I never needed to go to rehab. I had a good time. I don't regret anything. But they you know, it got a little carried away there for a while. And I had, you know, 10 paparazzi outside of my house every day. Felt really suffocated. It was a lot. And at the time, so that was right after the second season of The Hills that I did. So this is in 2010. I was really wanting out of LA. And I was visiting my mom in Chicago, and that's when I actually met Jay. And it just sort of came at the perfect time. I met Jay a month after we stopped shooting The Hills. And I'm thankful because it got me out of LA. It really settled me down, getting married and having kids. And honestly, thank God, because I was essentially a stay-at-home mom. I mean, I had a shoe line with Chinese laundry. I was doing a lot of hosting stuff, but that was little bursts here and there.